Waiting for everyone to hop back on. Hey, Adam. Okay. Hey, don't drink water out of the plant basin, you weirdo. Hey.
We're back.
Trying to keep Helios's face out of the plants. They have the water basin.
Yeah.
And I watered them today, so there's water in it. And he just started lapping that up. I was like, what are you doing, son? Don't you do it? I see you looking. Caleb, it did not want to add you. It told me no.
Yeah.
Caleb, it's not wanting to let me add you. Caleb, you might need to either hop off and hop back on, or send me a request, because it's not liking this right now. Oh, okay. Caleb, it's not wanting to add you again, Caleb. I had him on here and it kicked him out. Let's see here. Come on, Caleb, you can do it.
There we go.
There we go.
There it is. All
What's
right.
up?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, I'm about to
Hey.
say, man, you can't
What's up,
you
fam?
can't take two. Hey, look, you can't take 2 weeks off,
I
bro.
know. I thought y'all kicked me out, man.
Hey,
Decline.
listen. You better get right.
Yes, fam. What's going on?
Not too much, brother. What's up?
Man, another night. Appreciate you joining us. It's gonna be fun.
Definitely.
You're darker than I remember.
Who? Me?
You.
Yeah.
That'd be weird
Yeah,
if she was saying that to Bruce. I'm just saying.
You know that? Hey, that tan.
He got tan.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
I always tell him he either has more or less hair than I remember, and it just, and that's almost always true.
It stays about consistent with that, though.
Okay, so now that we're all on.
I said about that bird. I really wanted it.
What now?
Jack Smith asked me, he said, did I go back and buy that bird from that video I put up of Goku? It was a cute little bird that we walked next to. And Goku looked, and I walked away, and the bird kept and he came started tapping at the window. And so I walked back, and then he's just like, "What's up?" And then when we walked away again after the video, he started pulling at the door. He's just like, let me home. I was like, no, I want you to live.
Right, be like, listen, I kill houseplants. I can't handle a bird. Listen. All right. So how we usually start this is we like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to everybody. Not that some people know you, and actually most people know you. Every once in a while you find somebody who doesn't, so just in case that they're on here. Just introduce yourself. Let us know, like if you have a kennel name or a partnership, and then just let us know how you got into bullies in the first place.
Oh, you talking about me? I don't do that. Hi, I'm Sam. Everybody calls me Sam. I am part of. I am the Bully Fam, and I am part of the LA Bully Cartel, which is the Lower Alabama Bully Cartel. But I'm making a joke saying it's the Lower American Bully Cartel now. But anyway, I started doing dogs about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Just started breeding and saw show dogs and realized like, hey, this is what I like. This is what I want. After I came home from Iraq, this is what I poured myself into.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Well, thank you for your service, for real.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh
What,
yeah,
Army?
yeah.
You were
What
Army,
branch,
right,
hon?
fam?
Yeah,
Me?
Army, Guard, about 11, 12 years.
Nice.
And I was medically discharged over broken backs and things like that.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Broken
yeah.
back.
Wow.
Well, people don't know. I mean, it's not broken. It's like
Oh my
herniated and
God.
ruptured
Oh,
disc.
shin
Yeah.
splints.
So a lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
Oh my
I have
God.
Oh, just
quite
hey,
a few
just broke.
massive
Hey,
back
look,
problems.
just broke down. In other words, not broken, but just broke down.
My body
Yeah. No,
quit.
I actually have a herniated disc and a ruptured
Oh,
disc.
for
Mercy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey
Mm.
fam,
God,
that doesn't.
That's why I'm
How
so
is
short.
that with handling? Like, does that not bother you at all?
That's why you won't see me for a couple of days after. A weekend of handling, it takes me a couple of days to kind of recover.
Dang.
Like it's
oh,
really hard on me. It ain't gonna lie. Like I just lay there because it's just my back kills me. And
Yeah.
not and but it's just one of those like consistent pains I'm so used to by now. I guess that I don't bother with it. Actually supposed to have surgery. My doctor's been telling me for years, and I'm just like, nah. That means I won't be able to walk for a couple of weeks, and I can't afford to do that. So,
Wow.
but the risk, involved with that surgery too, to me is very high, and I'm not willing to take that risk at my current age.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you need it, and I'm like, I don't care. You're not gonna go play with my spinal cord. I am not into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
it's
need
high
to.
risk.
hey,
I mean, oh
and
my
you
gosh.
Play with it
and you
later
know
when I
what?
don't need it as much.
Mm.
And you know what? That tells me right there you love these dogs
Yes, Lord.
because
Yes.
you know you're gonna have back problems, back ache, and you still
I
go
already
out
do.
there and
Yeah.
perform. That's crazy, man. You gotta
Um,
love
there,
it
there have
for
been
real.
times where I've tweaked my back where I couldn't like really function very well
God.
because of like if I pinched the wrong nerve or something like that. There have been times where I was just like kind of bedridden for a day or two.
Mm.
It's incredibly painful to move, but those are few and far between now. That's why I try to stay relatively healthy,
Yeah.
to a certain degree, and just minor things like that. That's why I don't run anymore, or try not to. Yeah, I'm not supposed to lift
Hey,
things over like 25, 30 pounds. So basically, I'm supposed to be showing Frenchies.
Mhm.
That's
You're
Man.
why
not
you
doing a
don't
whole
see me
bunch
with
of that.
XLs much. People are like, you show XLs, fam? I can,
Yeah.
but can I ride it?
Man, yeah,
Yeah,
because the car ride there, the car ride back, the whole day, your daily
yeah.
process of the handling
In
and
and out the kennels, in and out the hotels, up and down stairs, walking dogs, all that stuff. And I used to do like 3, 4 dogs at a time. That's why too now it's like now that it's starting to catch up. I ain't gonna lie. That's why I'm kind of taking a little more time in between versus just like killing it every other weekend or something like that. But that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
if you would see me a couple of weekends back to back, then you might not see me. Like that's
yeah,
why I just disappear all week. I'm just it hurts.
yeah.
I don't really talk about it, but it is what it
dang.
is. I
Yeah.
don't.
Oh, man, I
That's why I smoke on. Yeah, it's for
yes,
pain.
I used to
Pain
see you like
Yeah,
literally every single show, so I can only imagine now knowing that, like knowing that you were
yeah,
probably hurting something crazy for the next
yeah,
several days after that. Man.
yeah. Respect, big time respect on that. Fam,
Yeah,
where you
no
live?
doubt.
Where are you
What was
based
that, Caleb?
out of? Where are you based out of? Where do you live?
I live in Hammond, Louisiana currently. That's why everyone from Mississippi messes with me. I'm literally right on the edge of like Mississippi, New Orleans,
Yeah,
right there at the river.
Nice.
I know where
So
it's
it
at.
ain't very much for them to get to me within. Most of my people, like I'm 2 hours from Canton. I'm 2 hours from the next show that Hildry's
Mm,
throwing.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. That's the
gonna
last
see y'all
weekend.
there.
That's the last weekend of this month, right? What, 30th?
Correct, March 30th.
Yeah. That depends. I might actually be in Daphne, Alabama.
For
Oh
I'm thinking
yeah.
what?
Uh oh.
Yeah, I got some friends of mine are actually coming up to look at property from Florida. They're moving to like Fairhope Daphne area, and they're just like, "Ooh, can you come see us while we're here?" And I'm like, "What weekend?" And they're like, "That one." I'm like, "Hmm."
The
No,
Mississippi
no,
show.
like absolutely no. I
Oh.
can't come see y'all.
No, no,
Who's got
just
thumbs? I only give you thumb too. You little snap thumbs.
I
Who's your
can't see a
family and
thumb.
thumb bubbles?
Josh
So what y'all
calling
up to
triple
tonight?
trouble.
Hmm?
So what y'all up to tonight? What's on your
Sitting
minds?
down talking to you guys.
Yes.
Now
I
I
had
am
a busy day.
curious. I'm curious that like so you know when you got back stateside, you hopped into dogs. Were there any? Did you get right into bullies, or were there other breeds that you were interested in first that you kind of tampered with?
Always bullies. That's the only thing I've ever wanted. But you know, the funny thing is, the very first dog I ever bought when I turned 18 was a beagle, and I named her Shiloh because I obsessed that book growing up. Then I realized hound dogs are not for me. I,
Yeah, not
I,
everybody. No.
something in there. This is not my kind of dog.
Oh.
But I loved her, and you know, but from there I always had pit bulls, and then people were just they would bring me like, oh look, I found this pit bull on the side of the road. Oh, I found this rescue. Oh, I found this dog that got beat up, and I'd
Oh
be
my
like, okay, I'll help it. Okay, I'll save it, and like I would take it to my
God.
vet, and they'd be like, you know, they have like humane societies and stuff. You don't have to pay for this every time you find a dog. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't care. I like dogs, you know. But
No.
that was literally my life growing up. Like as soon as I got a house on my own, I was just like, oh, there's dogs, I can save them. It was just always my thing. It was always pit bulls. It was just always something I've always gravitated to. I had a Rottweiler too. I had two Rottweilers actually. I liked them as well. I never bred them or anything. I just had them to protect my bullies
Yeah.
because my
Well,
bullies are useless.
that way. That's one way to do it.
Yep, I had
I
them
have a
protect my
guardian
bullies.
dog for my bully.
I had a
Oh
guard
yeah.
dog for that was her actual paperwork name on her AKC paperwork was the bully fan's fluffy guardian. Her name was Fluffy.
I can
And,
do.
and you know she in my game. I don't need a camera. I've got a Rottweiler.
Oh wow. Gotta do what you
Why
gotta do,
not?
you know. Protect the bullies.
Yeah, because they would just hand you the key to the house.
Yeah.
They would.
That's
They're
how that
like,
goes. They would.
Yes.
hey, welcome in. You want some
Welcome in. Open the
cheese?
fridge. You want a beer?
So, yeah, get me a beer, show you where the safe's at, you know, all the good
That's
jazz. They're
pretty
just happy
much.
to be there. They're the worst. Um, so when you got back and you started getting into bullies, like was there someone that kind of led the way? Did you already have some friends that were in that, you know, by the time you got back, so you kind of were already ushered in? Or I mean, what was your
Um,
re like?
yeah, you know, like it really was like maybe within 2 months I came home from Iraq. I went to PetSmart and I saw this beautiful blue bully at a PetSmart, and I was just like, where the heck did you get this puppy? And I just bought a dog from this lady, and she's like, oh, this dog is triple registered. I'm like, oh, they have registries for these dogs, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time she had like it was ABKC was kind of new, you know, it was brand new. UKC still had them as American Pit Bull Terriers and CKC, but then who, you know, no one even knew about that anyway. No one cares. But I didn't know
I don't
anything
think
about
that's
dogs and
Yeah.
paperwork.
the only reason I
Yeah.
knew about CKC was because
Yeah,
that's, you know, where I.
because I mean, at that point in time, I didn't even have dogs with papers, you know. And from there, when I bought her, I moved from Baton Rouge to Alexandria, Louisiana, and my neighbor ended up having done a breeding with Brian Cooper, and a lot of blood that was a lot more current at the time with him and like Sick with It Peanut and other like major dogs at the time, you know, that were just coming about, Paco, Samurai, stuff like that, Blade and stuff like that. So and there was a lot of Cairo, Purple Rose of Cairo, and that offspring. So a lot of people were running like assassin blood and stuff. So that when I ended up moving like 4 or 5 houses down from him, past his house, and he's got like a yard full of bulls. I was like, what the heck? Man, I want that. I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
then, but my
cute.
dog, she was a pretty decent dog. You know, she was bred nicely, but she wasn't bred with anything in mind. She was just a pretty dog, and he was just like, well, you want to link up, do the breeding? Let's do it. So I kind of picked up from him, like, okay, this is more of a standard dog. This is more of a pocket dog. But this was 10 years ago. This was 2016, not even 2016. This was 2011, 2012. So literally, the ABKC was just kind of kicking into gear. UKC had yet to even recognize the bully as a breed. Yeah, I don't even think that it was really registering yet for them even at the time. So whenever I got the paperwork for all these dogs, I was just like, why does my dog say pit bull and then it says bully? I'm confused. How can it be both? You know?
It lowered the boom on you after the fact, huh?
So that just kind of piqued my curiosity. So I started really looking into it and then looking at the different registries and trying to understand from there. And that's when I started looking, okay, well, currently these are ABKC dogs. This is UKC dogs. And then I'm looking at the styles like, okay, this is what a pit bull is, which is their style. I think we're still fighting that to this day. They showing where the movement's gone. And I realized ABKC is just kind of more of what I'm wanting. And I ended up buying my very first tricolored dog from him like 3-4 years down the road. He started going into exotics. So that's when I started learning about Miyagi, Bolo, and Hayes and all that stuff from him. And I was more into the standard type dogs. And we would go to dog shows together. And that's when I started really understanding, like, this was before Facebook became a thing and everyone started marketing on Facebook. Like, you have to go to the shows. You have to put your banners out. Yeah. You have to put your little tablecloth out and your cool little, like, 5x3, like, spread and your awesome little tent setup and everything. And nowadays, like, people don't care so much about that anymore, but that was the only way to really kind of network at the time. That's kind of how you went out and got anyone to know you, because Facebook didn't want dogs or care about dogs like that in that respect.
Yes.
So I went to my first show from there and was just like, this is a show dog. This is really what I want. My dog has this and this and this flaw now. I didn't even know what confirmation meant. 2017. I just went to the show to be like, these are the dogs I'm following, which was Grand Champion G-Train, owned by Judy Cook, Michael Cook. And that's when they started CBR, 2017, I believe. Okay. And 2017, they got Miss Jodie Cormier to host a CBR show in Louisiana. And they had Grand Champion Breeze. She owned Breeze. Amanda Walker owned Grand Champion Triton and Trick still. And Judy Cook was coming down with Michael Cook and Grand Champion G-Train. And I was like, oh my gosh, G-Train is like a legend. Judy Cook is a legend at this point. So this is a 2-hour show from down the road. That's when I met them. That's when I saw them, and I saw the 3 brothers together next to their dad. And I'm like, this is what I want. Mm-hmm. I need this in my life, And from there, that's when I picked up Arista. I found, Triton. Triton was kind of the dog I based my entire beginning off of, because he was local. He was with Amanda. And I had my Triton daughter, Arista, bought from Jonathan Furby at Showroom Kennels in Mississippi on Labor Day, and went home with her. Decided, I've already done a few breedings by then with Brandon and with my first dog, and I realized, like, doing all these little breedings and making all these puppies in the very beginning, I was just like, bloodlines really matter. Blood really matters. Dogs, these dogs are scattered everywhere because these people are putting these dogs together just because they have them. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm too much based into the science behind it, being that I have a medical background and all that. So I was just like, yeah, no. And I realized, like, hey, look, all these dogs with these champion titles. I understand, like, I was called a champ title chaser in the beginning, because they're like, everything you just has champ titles. I'm like, but everything that's come off of them is much more consistent. Yeah. That's why. Versus this one dog, then I have one dog in the pen that's a champ, but look at my dog, and I'm like, I don't see that dog in your pen. Yeah. So let's breed to where the pen reflects the dog. So I've always tried to choose dogs with more titled peds, because I knew, as a general rule, I'd have a better opportunity at having a show dog, Yeah. So I kind of thought that in the very beginning too. Oh, you're just a title chaser. You're just a title chaser. Well, we're breeding big dogs, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, and yeah, I respect that. But at the end of the day, I've had my fair share of big, nice, extreme dogs, and I just can't deal with it in the end. This is what I really like. My eye is drawn toward conformation before I even knew what the word conformation meant. I really had no idea what the word even meant, like what it was. My first, 2 or 3 shows, but I knew what my eye was drawn to. And from there, I just looked at my own dogs that I bought in the very beginning, and I can't tell you how much money I spent on dogs buying and selling and pet homing fully righted dogs because I was just like, no, just no. This is you say this is a breedable dog. I do not consider this. No disrespect to you, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, like that's the thing is we were talking about that last week and like being able to talk to one another and be like, hey, if you want honest feedback, you've got to be, willing to.
Well, that's kind of how I think you find who your people are.
Yeah.
If you can have that conversation,
Mhm.
and where is it going? Is that person receptive?
Yeah.
Is that person open to the critique? Or are they just going to sit there and stubbornly tell you, no, man, my dog clean. No, man, my dog good. Okay, well, then maybe you're not looking at the same things I'm looking at.
Right.
Then go find your own crew. It's
Yeah.
funny, like, 'cause that's kind of what me and you were talking about earlier. You're always going to find your people flock together.
Yeah.
That's why we've always flocked together. And in the light of recent events, we've seen how people tend to flock together, especially those opinionated ones. But I can only mess with someone who I feel is teachable, because I know that if you're gonna tell me something, and I've heard people like, man, this dog's this or that, and I'll be like, yeah, it is. I'm on my own dog. I'm like, yeah, you saw that too? I'm like, I know. Thank you. Trust me, I already know. But I'm not ashamed of it. If the dog is a dog, I can't get mad at it.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at what your dog is or is not. You just have to accept it for what it is. Move on, sell the dog, or work with it. It's a choice.
You're right.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Fam, so when you were starting out, you were saying that you were called the champion chaser. You were trying to get a lot of champions, which I like, I agree with. Now, you said you like the science behind it too. Were you matching pedigrees? Were you aligning bloodlines for future breedings? Okay.
That's kind of where I was getting at too. It wasn't just champions to breed the champions. My very first breeding, Arista, was 2 Grand Champion breeds.
Okay.
Arista is a Grand Champion Triton daughter. Grand Champion breeds and Champion Triton are litter mates. And that's because I chose that because everything I did before with the dogs that I bought from before were scatterbred. So when I would breed them together, I'm like, oh, I got a nice ass dog breeding this nice ass dog. The 2 dogs I put together, I would still get crazy things out of. Things I wouldn't expect, but then I'm looking at the pedigree, I'm like, that's why. This dog is literally scattered to the 4 winds. You've got 4 or 5 different types of bloodlines in here. But this is still, you got, like I said, too, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, dang near. We're not going to talk about how long ago it was anymore. And things weren't as honed in as they were now. Dax was barely a mark at the time. Dax wasn't, and then when Dax made a statement, he wasn't even accepted in ABKC at the time, whenever I really kind of started doing things. And, from there, he kind of got grandfathered in. That's when the USBR was created, in order to have Dax a home. Because Ed Shepherd created USBR for Dax because they weren't taking him.
Yeah.
ABKC didn't accept him. In the same respect with Bullseye, you know what I mean? And back in the day, ABKC wouldn't accept them, and after a while, there was so much in the pedigrees that they had to. They had to accept it because now you're going to say half these dogs aren't going to be papered. That's why UKC had to go American Bully too, because they started losing out on the paperwork.
So, out of curiosity, and just from your knowledge at the time, because I mean, we love this stuff. We love nostalgia. We love talking about
old people.
Your experiences. Girl, I turned 40 already. Like that's just like, listen.
I'm still in denial. I'm not
you
even
what?
there yet. I'm still in denial. I'm not even there yet.
Bruce, we're not even talking to you. Stop. But like, we love talking about like, especially if you have you were there for something that was like pivotal and kind of historic in our minds. When it comes to that whole USBR creation, because of Dax, what was it about Dax that made it so that the ABKC was just so hesitant, do you think? Just from
I think at the time it was because he was such an extreme dog.
Gotcha.
And this is, like I said, this was literally the very beginning. He was such an extreme dog, and and there were so many arguments of there's so much bulldog in there. This is not true to the breed anymore. And yet the same argument that's still there now, like, because we're trying to differentiate ourselves. We're trying to not look like the pit bull terrier. Look at UKC accepting a pit bull bullies as pit bull terriers because there is no distinction in the breed. So Dax was one of those that was literally the crux of turning point for our entire breed as a whole. And then from there they got taken in and grandfathered all in. The same thing with Miyagi. They all got grandfathered in as grandchildren after a while.
Yeah. Hey, fam. So Ed Shepard created the USBR. Dax registered with them and was grandfathered into ABKC through USBR.
I'm not gonna say like through it, but at the end of the day, there were so many dogs that were running predominantly in there originally. I think there was a phase where they were like, we don't want to take him. You know?
Yeah.
There was a phase where they didn't want to accept it, but you know, like I said, there were so many people with it. They had to go with it, or else they would have.
Yeah.
You know, it would have turned into a different registry.
Yeah.
I think I'm not gonna say that I had any personal hand in knowing these people. That's just from what I saw from my perspective, because I was showing USBR as well. You know, I even took a couple best in shows at USBR in the very beginning. I remember like me, Devin Ferraro were going pretty heavy in the beginning whenever they were doing well. But then the very last show that I do remember was Louisiana versus Texas, and Ed Shepard was still alive, and he judged the show. Cool enough though that he chose Brian Cooper's Shorty Bull as his best in show, because that's when the Shorty Bull was making a rise.
Wow.
You know,
he
was there with his oxygen tank and his mask, and making sure that he took a break, you know, every couple of rounds to rest and everything like that during his judging. But that was like a very epic moment, because it wasn't a few months after that he passed.
And that's devotion.
The man's a legend. Yeah, and from there, USBR kind of died. You know, it died with him, honestly. And now they're kind of making a little bit of a comeback, but you know, we're seeing how that
talking
goes.
about having more shows in the South too. So I mean, that could be a real fun prospect. I know that they were looking at some shows in like Troy or Montgomery and areas like that. So
I think there's supposed to be a Longview show here coming up soon too.
Texas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, USBR has they have a heavier presence in Texas than anywhere else. So that's like a nice home base. But I do find it funny as far as that, you know, that kind of historical, you know, transition, you know, for the ABKC, because obviously at that point they started to veer more towards that mass that Dax ultimately brought. And that's kind of, just like you said, it was sort of that crux that, like, that's
the change that I've seen in the ring just in the past 7 years. Like, and a lot of people are mad right now, or kind of like debating the whole like classic standard situation.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know, I think Bully the Kid put it out, you know, very aptly when he made that post, and he was kind of right on that. But at the end of the day, like, I watched this class grow, you know, and it was in the very beginning, classic class was very, very classic, you know, and the standard class was what, you know, what we consider like a dog that kind of would draw the line at the time, but today would not be considered an extreme, you know. Today is standard. And I think that's why they took out the extreme classes. The extreme class existed. A lot of people don't remember that.
It absorbed.
We did have an extreme class. Yeah, it got absorbed, and that's what I said. I feel like they essentially wanted to absorb it. They're trying to say that the standard of today should be the extreme, and then we're just going to call that the standard, and that the classic of yesterday should be out, and the classic today should be yesterday's standard. That's kind of really what I feel.
Yeah.
And
visually, that's what it seems like is happening. Because I was talking to Roland Amat about that not too long ago, and I mean, he said essentially the same thing. It's just like as the breed evolves, you know, everything kind of shifts, and you know, you're going to have the extremes were phased out because they were the concept car for the breed, for the stand. And then so the standard absorbed, those traits became the standard. Extreme was discontinued, and then classic became basically what the standard is expected to be. And then those are,
I think this extreme class, it kind of in the way that Bully the Kid explained the classic class was kind of like the mistake that we're trying to correct. In a way, the extreme was kind of like that too, where these overdone dogs with too many flaws could go and still kind of find a place to develop. But now we have these extreme dogs that do still have a lot of the conformation that we're looking for and the balance.
Yeah.
So doing away with the extreme class, I think, is what they were going for in that respect, to take away those flaws but maintain that mass and overall.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that Bully the Kid was talking about how eventually something similar is going to ultimately happen with the classic class, because some of them are getting so close that some judges don't consider certain classics. They're like, oh, that's standard. And like that,
there are plenty of people I know that put a big standard in there too, that are like, dude, your dog's supposed to standard, bro. And you're like, yeah, well, it's easier in classic with him. And it's like, yeah, I get that too, but dang, man, like, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line, Because I've had dogs too. I mean, Fry is one of those dogs where I've had 3 judges literally tell me, like, she has the head of a classic but the body of a standard. I'm like, so what do I do?
So,
I'm going to just put her in classic because it'll be easier. And that's what they all say, like, yeah, but if she moves well, then go ahead and put her in classic. But if she doesn't move well, put her in standard. Like...
Yeah.
Like, so what is today? Today's Tuesday. Let's do classic. And
I've actually done that too. When in doubt, my opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Go ask your judge. Hey, do you think this dog's a classic or a standard? And you'll stick her in there. That way you can't even question it at that point.
Oh yeah.
Or
there's
go to the class that's first.
One will be like, no, this needs to be in that one. Like they'll already start, pushing people to different class for show 1. Like they're just like, nope. go to the ring later. We'll call you.
Well,
but
I've had different judges tell me different things, and I've gone to 2 different classes in the same day. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's perfectly not confusing.
I don't care. Just let me show my dog.
Yeah.
Right.
My opinion's out the window. That's what they're paid for, is their opinion. So long as their opinion is within reason. I just don't want their opinion to be, I'm just going to pick my friend because this is the safe one to pick.
Yeah.
So long as that's not the case, I'm good.
Yeah. Now, Fam, how do you feel about that? Do you think it should merge into one class?
You talking about classes of standard versus extreme, or classic versus standard? I don't know. I've seen Dave Wilson say that we will never lose classic. I've seen the man say that. I've seen him text that before. Classic will never be gone. It's what gave rise to it, And I think it's confusing. I really do. I really do think it's super confusing. As a developing breed, it makes sense, but there's no other breed that does this. There's no other breed. If you're gonna do anything, you're gonna have a miniature, and you're gonna have like the regular or the large class. Me and you were actually talking about this too yesterday. Just like with a beagle, you have a regular beagle and you have the miniature beagle. Just like with a poodle, you have a large poodle and a miniature poodle.
Separate breeds.
Schnauzer, a giant schnauzer, and a regular schnauzer. So, and then like even with the corgis, you might have 2 different types of corgis, but they are very distinctly different.
Yeah.
We have no distinctions yet. And I tell people all the time, we are still in the long scope of things, we are still a very new breed.
Yes.
You can't.
Yeah, it is.
You can't expect to have in just a few generations, which is only for us, 7, 8 years for me. I've seen this breed change, and that's what I was getting at earlier. From the ring of what was classic and standard 7 years ago to what is classic and standard today, it has really like exponentially grown. It's through the roof.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, the change wasn't quite this drastic.
Yeah.
And it has become this drastic, but it's kind of, and it's because of those cruxes, it's because of those daxes, and because of the wackos, and everything has come like sprung forward from them. Everyone wanted a dax son or bred to dax offspring, you know, just like, and that's what we did 7, 8, 10 years ago. Now it's everyone wants to breed to Rocco offspring as a majority, you know, when it comes to like standard type dogs.
Right.
So, and that's kind of why it's grown in that way. I don't think it can grow like size wise much more. Now all we can do is clean it,
Yeah.
you know. And once we start perfecting that conformation within the mass that we're looking for in that extreme level, I think only when it's become so consistent we can merge it. You know,
Oh, absolutely. Because I
part of
think
our
that's what classics are.
everyone complains because this country is such like a variance in what our dogs look like, and I was like, it's because it stems from here. It's because everybody thinks they're a breeder here. Other countries have a much better like smaller template because they've already funneled through and gotten the best dogs from here to breed there. So their blueprint is a lot different. They only have so much to work with, and the only people bringing dogs over there are the ones worth paying for. You know. So we've have such a huge gene pool and so many different directions with it. I don't know unless there's going to be more of a, I think, hands-on type of approach and directing it. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but like way back in the day when you would have to show them your pedigree.
Oh.
And that's because I think they wanted to streamline it.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a thing anymore, but that was like a decade ago.
Yeah.
They wanted to see the actual pedigree. Now, whether or not that was just to make sure that you were, you know, legitimate or whatever the case may be, or just to see what bloodline your dog was, you know, I don't know the reasoning behind that. But I mean, in the beginning, everybody does their own thing. There are
Hey, you just
a
said
lot
a
of COVID
mouthful.
dogs.
Yeah. Hey, and I love what you just said. And I think classic should remain. I agree with you. We're a growing breed. It needs to be there. That's the foundation. Now, I wish there was something that could differentiate between the classic and the standard more, instead of, like you said, like you've been told by multiple different judges. Like that's got to be frustrating going into a ring and be like, no, you're classic. That judge just told me
And
to
then you
come
have
in.
those dogs that ride the line, like one day it might be a standard because the dogs here look like this, and then or one day it might be classic because the dogs look way too big, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just go here or there. It is confusing. I've always said that, and especially new people coming in, they're like, oh, you know, what are these? Oh, everyone's asking, oh, you got a pocket bully. I'm like, oh, my dog is like 19 inches, y'all. But they don't know that. It's just what they know. Like, oh, you got pocket bullies. Like, you know, and then I'm like, it's because we have the classes, you know, and that's why. And we have so many. Like, what other breed has 5 damn classes?
Yeah.
And if you look across the board, we have 5 classes, you know.
Yeah.
And now we've added another one with the miniature.
Oh
So
my
technically,
God.
6. BRC added the micro or miniature American Bully, right? So those are for the 13 and under. Then you got the pocket. Then you got the classic, the standard, and the XL, and the extreme.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Recognize, and then recognize across registries, of course.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of registries, Adam did have a question. Do you have a favorite registry to show in? Not necessarily like to show in, like you're full around, like all.
I started ABKC.
Yeah.
I built everything in ABKC, and I didn't. You got to think though. I didn't know of any other registry. Like I knew the other, like the very first show I went to was DVR show, but I didn't show there. To me, that was, like I said, I knew that was a new registry that Judy Cook was making. ABKC was always like the only registry to me that was a bully registry.
Yeah.
That was the first very thing I knew about when I learned, oh, American Bully, ABKC. And I knew the rest of them were, you know, or like just growing registries. USBR to me was created for the extreme, and then BRC was created for the exotic, you know, kind of in a way. That's kind of how I feel, you know, like as things came along and whenever these new registries started sprouting up, I kind of felt like that's why that they were created to kind of house this new dog.
Yeah.
And now we got, you know, the fluffy Frenchies and all these things. So these more exotic based registries are giving them a place to kind of go, which is cool. But I think that's why they grew. That's why they have a place, because people want these dogs.
Yeah.
They want these extreme dogs. They want these Merles. They want these fluffies. And But ABKC was just always my start, and from there, all I knew was ABKC, and I believe in the very beginning too. There was when I first started kind of looking into it, there was no Frenchies, there were no Merle Frenchies at the time. Now don't quote me on that, but I just I don't recall that.
Yeah.
And even in the very very beginning, we didn't even allow like all white dogs to show.
Yeah.
And now it's part of the standard because I showed Marshmallow and they're like, you can't show that dog. She's against standard. I'm like, the heck she isn't. She's totally all white. They're like, is this against standard? Nope. Not anymore.
Oh.
But it just shows you where it's grown to, and what we've allowed, and where the extremes have come from. These extreme dogs were added in, and then now why not? Why can't we add Merle?
Hey,
Why can't we add Fluffy? But
hey,
I think ABKC says that they're not going to add those, not in the ring.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think? Do you
Not
think?
my opinion. I've
Do you think?
had conversations with certain judges, senior judges, head judges, and I think that is one of the biggest debates right now in the ABKC is because they're allowed to be papered,
Yeah.
but whether or not they're going to be allowed in the ring, I know there are judges that are not into that are standing firm on that to say we are supposed to be the forefront. We're supposed to lead by example, and if we do that, we're going to take out the purpose of this registry is, and that's how that was expressed to me from some judges.
The sanctity of the breed is held. It's essentially like held and trademarked by the ABKC.
And you've got other judges that are just like just a nice dog.
Yeah.
I respect it if it was well thought out and well put together.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, I think my mind has changed on that too. At first, when I looked at a Merle, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then now I look at a Merle, I'm like, ooh, because people have they've given it due respect.
Real bulls out there that are literally
You just have to give it due respect,
Yeah.
Just like you read anything else, you have to give that dog due respect. And if you read it right, you read it well. I think anybody can see, or you can just do like that other guy and just have hairless Merles and. That dude's from Louisiana, though, man. I forgot his name. That dude's from Louisiana. Every time he comes out, and I'm just like, there he goes again with his possum bullies. There he goes again with his little armadillo bullies. But I ain't gonna lie, the dude been at this for like 7 years, like 6-7 years ago. Like I saw him come out. That's when he first came out with them hairless bullies. What? And I was just like, shoot me now. This is not Louisiana.
Yeah, Lord. Hey, when they did that fun show overseas at the ABKC show, man, the world went crazy. The bully world, thinking Merles were accepted into ABKC, into the show ring.
It was how she posted it too,
Yeah.
Because she posted it with her ribbons, and then everyone. But I looked at the dog and I was like, those are really nice dogs, And yeah, it did cause an uproar, but just like Amanda was saying, I think it's for those who believe in the sanctity of the breed and the purity of it. Like me and Jude have always kind of come to odds with this one. Like, yeah, Candy just mentioned Hildred Glover has a beautiful Merle, and she's talking about Merle, and I showed Merle. I've always showed Merle. I trained Merle, and I even told him from the beginning, like this is a very nice dog, especially for Merle. Props, like you did really good. You did it justice. He's a beautiful dog, and I enjoy showing him. But whenever Jude, I was like, if I need help, Jude's like, you're gonna make me show him Merle. And I'm like, because he believes in the sanctity of the breed. He's just like, this is not allowed. This is not what we should do. We should not be supporting this. He's like, he's a nice dog, but I feel like this is not what I want. And I'm like, I understand that. I get that. But he's kind of like, actually, I was like, you're a purist. You're a purist.
Right. And the worst part about it is like, I count myself in those ranks. But a lot of it was because having come from Pipples, Merle wasn't supposed to be in Pipples either.
You're not even supposed to have blues in Pitbull.
So when it infiltrated Pipples way back when, I was pissed. And I hated that.
But
and so like
a hula Pitbull mix makes for one of the best catch dogs.
No, they're great and they're great.
You see?
Absolutely. They're great.
I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, UK with mixed dogs. I'm like, what's the breed? What's the purpose? You know, what is the purpose?
I didn't have a job, you know, and
That
there's no
dog,
job.
that's a great catch dog.
Oh,
It is.
I mean, they're ridiculous. And like my sister actually had Catahoula, so I was, you know, I had
I've had a
Catahoulas
Catahoula too.
I had them.
so it's
That
they
sucker's 110
now
pounds, and yes, he is a leopard. He was a leopard cur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
He would bring me home the neighbor's fucking plants and sofas, and one time he brought home my neighbor's charcoal bag, you know.
You just got the grilling.
Yeah.
I guess you want a steak, my boy.
Jesus. But like, you know, you know where these Merle alleles came from. Like they didn't come from something after the breed had been established. Because once a breed is like, you go ahead and you acknowledge it, you go ahead and establish it, create a breed standard, then at that point, you know, in your mind, if you're a purist, you're like anything that just pops up out of nowhere after that fact is an adulteration of that breed, right?
Because you
So
work so hard to maintain this level, and now it's like, how dare you come and mess up my flow? And
yeah,
I get that. I get that, you know.
yeah,
I
you know, from
understand that too,
mindset wise, that's where I can see where that.
but in the same respect, you have to feel that Dax did the same thing.
True.
Yep.
Right, and this
Sure.
breed, we had talked about this with Billy the Kid as well, was that
I feel
we
like
were
Don right now is doing the same thing.
Who?
Don Johnson with crypto. I
oh,
think
Yeah.
I think his model
absolutely.
might be one of the cruxes, because even like when I saw Don 2 years ago at the opener in Atlanta or something like that, and I saw him with crypto, and I think he expected a lot of people to kind of like, especially the handlers and the ring people. I think he really did expect people to give him a lot of a bit of a shun, you know. And I think a lot of them might have quite a few probably did be like, "What are you doing here with Merle? Like, oh, how dare you?"
yeah,
You know. And I walked up to him and was like, "Your dog's badass." Like literally, I was like, "Dude, that dude's badass." And
yeah.
he was like
Some of
taken
these
aback. He was
Merles,
like,
Yeah.
"Thank you," you know. Like, and then we just started talking dog. And then when I started talking to him, I'm like, "This man really, really knows dog. Like, he puts
yeah,
a lot of effort and thought and education into it." And I had a major respect for him just in speaking with him, because you can tell like he's put his work behind it.
he's done
He's
the
put his educate, you know, and he's done the research. And and you know, the whole paint the world thing, I do like Dom. I think he's doing it the right way, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the type of dog that is kind of like a turning point dog. I think
Yeah,
if anybody's
I agree.
gonna be able to make that impact and bring it to ABKC that way, I think Crypto is one of the ones. And look who he just worked with. Alex Ferraro
Mm-hmm.
has always liked Crypto. I mean, and we've all stood there and then shot the shit outside shows, and it was like, oh yeah, you know, like, you know, Don, oh yeah, you know, he just got this female, and then he had already told me about the breeding. I already knew about it all a while back, and I was just like, that's gonna shake the bully world.
yeah,
Yes,
that'll
it is.
take some foundations.
Yeah,
And I mean, and I
that
look to, you know, it's I get it from a purist standpoint, because again, I dealt with that when you know, when I was in the pit bulls, and it was a severe frustration there. But you know, so obviously that kind of lingered, you know, into this whole thing that, you know, now. But at the same time, you got to let some shit go. It's your blood pressure it's not healthy. So it's just one of those things where you got to ask yourself, you know, is there going to be enough stock as far as like really, really good breed standard Merle stock that's going to, you know, going to change the tide, you know, that's going to make the decision for the ABKC essentially, you know,
I think
because
it's
just like
already
you
kind of
said,
doing that for Dave. I'm not even gonna lie. I know he's leaning towards it. You know, I'm not
But
gonna speak for the man, but
yeah.
he has to at this point, and he's spoken on that. You know, we're just gonna sit back and watch. You know, because
Yeah.
that's the best he can say in the public eye right now. You know, I've always said it though years ago. It's gonna come in, and even years ago, whenever it wasn't even allowed to be accepted as a color to be registered. You know, and I was like, they're gonna take it,
Yeah.
especially with these other registries that are up and allowing it.
Absolutely.
Everyone, and then that's what the same thing going back to Hildry. Whenever he approached me with Burl and brought him to my house, and I was like, he's really nice, bro. He's a nice dog. He should show. He can show. This is a show dog. And he was like, well, show him for me. And I'm like, I can't. We have ABKC. You can't show him. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. that's when I told him, well, we need BRC. And he's like, what do I do with that? Well, then host shows. And then he'll just start hosting shows. That's why he started hosting the shows. Because of that conversation. He was like, well, shoot, I can't show him in ABKC. Like, no. Then what do I do? Well, then
Show
go to
myself.
BRC or something.
Yeah. Show myself.
Host shows and then bring them out there and do all that.
Absolutely.
You know?
But look what we just said, just a few minutes ago. We said, look at the consistency that's changed in the Merles.
Yeah.
Like how they've gotten bullied
Correct.
the last couple of years. So
I mean, the same thing in the regular dog. It's not going to be hard. If people know what they're doing, they're giving it due diligence. And that's why I give respect to, just like they're saying, and Crypto and Eddie, they are going to change the game. And that's because Don's a good guy and he means well. He has the education behind it. People believe in him and people are breeding to him, and he's not breeding to anything. He believes in himself. That's what I mean when I say he's putting his due diligence behind it. How does a dog become a great dog, a great stud dog? How does a dog become a crux? Not by just breeding to anything, but by breeding to the right thing.
Yeah, selective breeding is key. It always has been. That's how we got here.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean,
it really is important.
I'm with you, fam. I think it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of I think it's going to boil down to the confidence that can be created by these breed standard Merle bulls. They're going to have to be a substantial amount of them in order to convince the
Be careful, we're going to have a whole Merle class next.
No.
Y'all watch out now.
I don't think they're going to do that. But I mean, it is only a matter of time. I agree with you. I think that's kind of where it's heading because he's always.
It's already accepted, in every other registry.
It's not in the show.
It's accepted BRC, accepted, and not BR, accepted GCR, and it's there are so many all these other little registries that actually do pretty well. They're just not, to me, like nationwide or internationally or anything quite to that extent.
Yeah.
But they're allowing them to show, and I think that once everybody kind of does get to that point to where like, hey, you can't deny this dog, you really can't, and I like I said though, I feel like the way that Don's done it, he's done it in a very positive way.
Yeah.
You can always just shove it down people's throats, or you can walk by and go, hey, look, we like nice dogs, and that's kind of really his vibe,
Yeah. Well, I mean, because eventually it's just going to be another coat color. I mean, that's the way.
That's exactly what it is. It's just a pattern.
Because you're just like one way or another. This dog's gonna walk past you and be like, "Damn, that's a bull," and the color's not gonna even matter.
I think the biggest fear was just the fact that there's so much miseducation in this breed in the first place.
It is. It is genetic Russian roulette if you don't know what you're doing.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. There's so much bad breeding habits and so many uneducated people. That's why it's going to take somebody like that man in order to push, that particular agenda. But it is going to take a lot of people as a whole to know what the heck he's doing. I know he's not going to allow, Merle breedings and I know that he requires a certain amount of testing for the length of the gene.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't even know that, when it comes to testing for it. I ain't going to mess with it.
Yeah, or they're breeding there may not be Merle in the genetics, but there's piebald, and the problem is you can't breed piebalds to Merles either.
Right,
that's a problem.
That's a lot of weaknesses, a lot of weak links there.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of room for error. So a lot of people don't know that either, and that's like one of those things. Is like Merle to Merle isn't the only taboo when it comes to Merle breeding. You can't breed piebald, or shouldn't rather.
Common sense will tell you though, if you're not supposed to breed white to white, then you're not supposed to breed Merle to Merle. Maybe you shouldn't put white and Merle together. But common sense ain't so common.
Hey,
sometimes I'd like to put go click,
What, fam?
I've actually had to tell some people that too here recently. They're like, "Oh, you bring my white dog to my white dog," and I'm like, that's not very recommended, right? Like, well, why not? I'm like, literally, white means lack of genetic material.
It's
literally what it means, like lack of genetic material. It means there's way too many cracks.
Yeah.
Too many cracks in the top.
Every single void's gonna get filled with shit you don't want.
Correct.
Just yee.
Yeah.
Man. Do you Adam wants to know if you have a favorite Merle XL that you've seen?
I don't know myself. I saw a question earlier that was, what's one of your favorite bloods to work with?
Ooh, yeah.
Physically, I love working with Rocco Blood, but honestly, when it comes to one of my biggest downfalls for Rocco Blood is their timidity, their shyness. But I love
Yeah.
working with their mass in their body and their head. I love G-Chain Blood. I always did. There's a reason why. There's a reason why my entire yard was built on it. Is because it was so clean, so correct, but very forthcoming in their attitude. You know, they were very. They weren't high energy. They weren't high drive, but they were very zesty.
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah,
lot of that zest for life. They had good attitude, and they were generally very shy to things.
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, timidity
I like
is a
that.
hard thing to bring in that ring, and it's also bad in the sense of putting them in situations where they could start having a panic attack.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, and that's
something that's happened more.
Well, I like that
I
you look
know.
that far into it. You're looking at the attitude, the demeanor of the dog, and that's what I was wanting to get to with you too. You said you like the science behind the breedings. How did this
Right.
science work to create all these champions, grand champions? How did you and Jew get together? Like, let's. I want to dive into this.
Funnily enough, like I had no idea who Jew was. I just knew Jaws. I co-owned a dog with Amanda Walker, and she was like, "Let's breed a Jaws." So, okay, cool. Jaws is that dog that's been running in the ring a lot. Some pocket, blue tri grand. Like, all right, cool. I met Jaws, and he was with Jose, and I thought he was Jew. I was like, so Julian is a Cuban fella who wears sunglasses, calls himself Henry. That's who Jew is. Yeah, no, I really thought that was who that was in the very beginning. But, and then, funny enough, so that's who I thought it was at first, and then I was like, oh, so not Jew. And when I went to actually look at his Facebook the next day, and I was like, that is not who I talked to at all. So then I went to the next Birmingham show, and then I saw Jew, and he was with Jaws, and we were about to do the breeding, so I went up to him, and I was like, yada, yada, yada. He thought I was somebody totally else. Too. He was like,
So
yeah,
both
we're
of
going to
y'all
need to do a repeat. If you're going to need to do a repeat, then you're going to have to do a surgical. I'm like, why?
Yeah, wow.
I
Repeat
get a
what?
free repeat? Cool.
Yeah. Let's do it right now.
So we met each other and we had no idea who the other person was,
Oh
like,
my
at
God.
all.
That sounds about right for him. That's funny. I love that.
That sounds
Memorable
about right
window.
for both of us. Yeah. So, but, and what's crazy, it's funny enough, like I said, that's kind of how it all started. And then from there, we did the Jaws breeding to my champion scion littermate sister. And, things went well. And next thing you know, we're hanging out. He invites me to go to Airbnb that they're staying at in Alabama. And when I go in there, he has, I believe it was at the time, Grand Champion Mako, who wasn't branded yet. And I looked at Mako and I was like, oh my God, I love this dog. Like, he's just absolutely gorgeous. He's beautiful. Why do I love him so much? Off top. And when he showed him that weekend, champed him out, freaking won a best in show. Mako was a stellar dog. Then I come to find out, like, how is this dog bred? Like a month or 2, 3 months down the road. And he's like, it's off of crazy dog name. Anyway, the mom to Mako is littermate sister for freaking Arista.
Oh,
We didn't
that's
know
why you
that.
love it.
We had no
Oh,
idea.
Wow.
So that was Jaws bred to Arista's sister.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had Arista's son, Yoshi, with me.
mhm.
And I'm just like, these dogs are all sitting next together. I'm like, man, they all look so nice and just so
Yeah.
linear. And we had no idea that we had littermate sisters that we were breeding and showing their offspring against each other damn near every time. And then from that point on, we just kept going head to head. And he had Lizzie Borden, which was Mako's sister in the pocket class.
Oh,
And
wow.
and he was also showing Powerball for Brad,
Oh,
Nortex Bully at the time.
yeah.
So he had both those two in the same kind of pocket class. I was showing Riku and Rilla. So we're going lots of head to head.
Yeah.
Rilla wins best pocket, best female, and then Buster, champion Buster, has all black dog next to Rilla. We win both pockets, so we're going head to head, and that's that's one of our favorite pictures together. Before we were even LABC, Buster is same thing. He's off same kind of blood,
Right.
he's off of G Train too. So we're literally running the same exact blood together, not even knowing it, and that's why we're competing so hard. We're switching wins back and forth, and and then we go out the ring and we're doing the same, passing things back and forth, back and forth. So it was like, this is meant to be, right? This is it was
Did we
fated.
just become best friends?
I love you too, Jesse. Then we just become best friends. No, we learned that whenever they invited me to stay at the Airbnb with them in Alabama, and I walked in there, and there was like, at the table, and they're like, "Fam, I hope you're not uncomfortable, but I got my Glock on me," and I'm like, "Good," because I'm tired of holding my Glock in my pocket too. And we all put our Glocks on the table. That's when did you just become? Yeah, and then we both pulled out blood. Like, yeah, okay, we're back.
Confirmed.
Blood bully besties.
Yeah,
So,
let's
yeah.
both pass. Now, do you pass to the left or the right, fan? To the left or the right?
I'm a lefty. I'm a lefty.
The rules.
It really kind of has been like, we've been like, peas and damn carrots ever since. Or should I say like rice and beans, because he calls me Mexican. For the culture. Yeah, we got a good time. It really kind of was fated. Like, and we never even knew we were running the same blood. We just kept competing, kept beating each other. Really, I just think he got tired of me beating him, so he's like, "Well, if you can't beat him, then let him join." So when he invited me in, he was just like, "Oh yeah, guess what? We needed you to help do our paperwork so we could start hosting shows." I'm like, "You think I'm the paperwork person? I'm not secretary material. No, I am not secretary material."
What happened?
That ain't gonna work.
That's okay, trust me.
We need responsible people for this. I don't think that's me.
From the outside in.
Don't worry, we found us a responsible lady, so we're gonna get it. We've had the same trophies we've been supposedly supposed to host the same ABKC show for like 3 years now, y'all. Trophies are just sitting in the room. We're still thinking about it because we don't have the proper secretary. It's gonna happen one day.
The stars are gonna have to align for someone responsible enough.
I say, look, they found a Troy venue for us. we dropped the Troy venue.
Yeah,
hey,
but he
Troy,
always does the Peanut Vegetable Ground.
I'm here for Troy. I'm here for the Troy venue.
I can't wait for the next Troy show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's April 20th.
No, wait, I can't go to that one. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He popped that sucker up last month, and April 20th has been Hot Springs ABKC for over a year. I kind of feel like that was a very pointed
I didn't know
date.
about that.
Oh yeah, it's been JJ and Ashton have had they show up since June of 2023.
Where's that one?
Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Okay, Arkansas. I thought I heard you say Hot Springs. Okay. Huh.
That thing been up there for over a year, and I've already been booked for it for the year. And then they popped that other one, but they've been kind of here lately, so I think it was definitely a pointed assignment.
I've got a 4-hour
I'm
radius.
just mad because I'm like, now you're making me choose. I don't like having to make decisions.
Yeah.
That was a subject matter on one of the shows not too long ago. It's just like, well, what decision, you hate having to choose between registries, but like what factors into those decisions? Like, is it, which dog is closer to a title in which registry, or is it the distance, or is it, the environment?
Distance don't matter if the closer registry, you've already titled all the dogs. But for me, it really does depend on what dogs do I have.
Yep.
I tell my clients, like, I work for you, so I want to put your dog where it's going to shine the best.
Yep.
And whether that be at this closer show or that further show, but I mean, I can't base four different dogs off of one dog, But most of the time, too, I'll just say, hey, I'm going to this show. Who wants to come with me? Right now, I'm fully booked for the March 30th show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
That's going to keep busy. Now, you are actually officially a judge in one
No,
of
no,
these
no, no,
red.
no,
No,
no, no, no, no,
no.
no, 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 no,
I was,
no,
it was
no,
something that
no.
I remember hearing that it was a possibility, so I didn't know if that was something that was actually something you were interested in.
I no longer have any affiliation with that registry.
Okay, cool. All right. Cool. Never knew. No, now. Gotcha. With that said,
We're gonna have
so
a conversation about that later.
I had no idea. We were going to find out one way or another. So how, like, but with that said, though, obviously with your experience, you have an eye for the breed standard and for confirmation. So one of the questions that pops up a lot in our lives is, say you have either it's your litter or you're picking a pup off of another litter, from another source. What are you looking for, and about what age do you typically try to make your final decision on picking a puppy?
I'm a hoarder for a reason, because I've learned that anything and everything can change up until 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, because there's sometimes whenever they're born, I can just point at a dog and go,
Yeah.
"You're the one." Now, you know what I mean? Like most of the times, and most times it's true, sometimes it's not. But I'll always keep an eye on that one. And the newest dog for me was Broly, the one that I just posted recently. He is the one from that litter. He always was the one. Rilla, when she came out, was the one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew it from the day she was born. And as I watched her grow, I knew I couldn't let her go. I generally don't even like to pick at 6, 7, 8 weeks. If I can help it, if I do a puppy back deal, and I feel bad for people. But I'm like, give me the best opportunity here, and it's hard because 8 weeks, they're not really showing anything. The only thing at that point they're showing is who's the biggest, who's got the most bone, who's got the best kind of head.
Yeah.
But that could all still change.
Yeah.
I've had the ugliest duckling and the ugliest, skinniest dog with the litter come out to be the best. Not to say that. Why do you think Alex sold Shamrock? Why do you think Khan sold Rocco in the beginning? Let's not get it twisted. A lot of people don't know that either.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know that dog was going to turn out to be this dog.
Right.
And then in the process of growing too, people don't realize the bigger the dog, and in the different bloods, they process differently as well. And there are dogs that I gave up on at 4, 5, 6 months that I looked at a year and a half later, I was like, God dang it. You're dumb. You're stupid. That was stupid. Yeah, whatever. Okay, you call yourself a breeder. Anyway, let's just move on. Try to show your dog. We all make those mistakes, but if we could possibly hold on to them for 5 or 6 months, what I tell all my friends is take your best 2 or 3 that you could possibly hold in a litter and hold them as long as you can.
Yeah.
And from there, as they are developing, you are going to have to compare and contrast. But for me, it's a balance thing. For a show dog, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for a nice breeding tool, something wow factor? Then yeah, pick the biggest honking dog in the freaking litter, man. That's never, you can't go wrong there. You like a small compact dog, but for me as a show dog, you're gonna want to pick the most balanced dog. And most balance doesn't mean the cleanest every time either, because the cleanest dog might be the littlest dog, the skinniest dog, the scrawniest dog, and that's not going to do anything if it has no breed type.
Yep.
Right? I know it's hard.
Yeah,
I have gotten lucky, but that's because I had the space and the time and the energy to hold, and the reason why I have 3 grand champions from one litter is because I kept all 3 fucking dogs. Let's not get it twisted. Wow. I kept all 3 females and was like, I don't know who to sell. I don't know who to sell because you're all show dogs. And then as they turn 5, 6 months old, 6 months old, 7 months old, 8 months old, I'm like, I still can't sell any of you because you're all still show dogs. Mm-hmm. And then D came to me and was like, I'm thinking about showing a dog. I need a new hobby. And I'm like, all right, here, D, take a queenie. And then he granted queenie. After that, I granted, Riku and Rilla. And that's exactly what I was just telling my friend Zach Bartlett today, because he's been sending me the blue puppies to LABC's Miss Mayhem. Well, I raised Dee Dee, I stacked Dee Dee, I trained Dee Dee before she left to get sold to Zach.
Yeah.
And and I helped them with the breedings and everything like that. And the first time they got sent to peas and sorted that out, and then helped them after that when they were like, "Can we go to blue?" So now I'm looking at those puppies every day, and they're like, "What do we do?" And I'm like, "Keep the whole litter."
I mean,
Keep them
He's like,
all.
"Seriously?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "So should I keep them all?" Yeah. Why not? Because just because you keep them all now doesn't mean you can't sell them as they grow.
Yeah.
Oh
If
yeah.
you have
Oh yeah.
necessity.
Yeah.
But
It's one of those prospects that you got to be prepared for. Yeah.
correct. Because as a show breeder, though, we are very different. I've had people ask me the same thing too. Why aren't you breeding dogs like me and Kente Lair? We came up at the same time, NEG. Why aren't you breeding dogs like Kente breeding? You know, y'all started the same. Y'all talk together. Y'all bred to the same people. We mess with the same guy, the guy that started me doing bullies.
Right.
We mess with the same dude technically, you know. And he's like, well, because I said what he's doing, he breeds for extreme.
Right.
So like I said, anybody like it's you just need the proper funds and pick the right dogs, pick some big dogs, pick some nice bred dogs, and then put them together, and you get some nice dogs. You know, it's not going to be hard. I said, but when you're breeding for conformation, there's a lot more specific things to look for, and not just the physical part. Just like I said too, the attitudes, everything.
Yes.
You can have the nicest dog in the ring, but if the dog ain't looking up or gating, then you ain't gonna win.
I like that.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because and again, that the breed type actually includes temperament, and that's something that a lot of people forget. They just magically forget it. It's like, no, that's part of breed type is temperament.
Right, and you know, like some people say, oh, well, that shouldn't have too much of a factor. Well, you're right. Temperament is part of it. Literally, the words are zest for life.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and
Zest for
so
life.
Jonathan Foster and I have actually made jokes about this, but there's only two places in the breed standard where the word extreme is actually used, and one of those is extremely friendly with strangers and children. Like,
What's the other one?
verbatim. So it's like,
Not extremely shy and scared to meet the world.
oh yeah, that's pretty extreme. Extremely friendly. Okay.
And they should be, you know, they should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's
Companion dogs.
They are companion dogs.
Yeah.
That is the type as far as the
Yeah, but I said we as a breed did kind of shoot ourselves in the foot by picking a timid dog to be the new crux of the breed.
Yeah.
Right.
No disrespect to anybody ever, but I mean that's just the truth of the matter. That's why we've got so many shy dogs that are timid or, you know, that aren't as willing to work. Because I said you want a companion dog that's just going to be, cuddling next to you the whole time, but you also want that dog to be up and about and active. I said you can't have it all, y'all. You know, I think there needs to be some type of middle ground here, and I think people are really kind of you can't have it all at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately there are no perfect dogs.
Yeah.
We can stop
Bam, back to the science of it that you were talking about with the breedings. I saw this question the other day, and I saw a bunch of different responses, and I want to hear what you have to say. What's more important, line breeding or outcrossing?
Depends on where you're at.
All right. I like that.
Depends on where you're at. I mean, for me, like I said, my first thing I did was I line bred.
Yeah.
I line bred because everything that I did before was outcrossed. You see, and I hated getting all the completely drastic results across the board. I would get a short, long dog. I'd get a tall, short back dog. I'd get a big, thick dog with a pointy head. I'd get a skinny dog with a big old head. You know, all in the same litter. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And that's because looking at pedigree, I've got, 7, 8, 10 years ago, there's probably some pit bulls in there, some classic dogs in there, some newer standard dogs in there that were really, they were kind of all over the place. So that's why whenever I started with Arista, I wanted to line breed. I line bred, like I said, Arista to her uncle Grand Champion breed, had a tight inbreeding. And from there, I started adding things, but I still kept going back. I got more, I got Scion, which is Grand Champion Triton's son, and I started incorporating him into my program. But then I started doing the grandparents or a generation here or there. But not everything line bred together. Of course, I wanted to space it out. But from there, it was like now I have a tightly bred dog. When I got to the point where people at Tractor Supply and the local stores saying, we know when your dog comes in. Like, we recognize your look. Hey, that's a Bully Fam dog. That's when I was like, cool, thank you. Now I have a distinct look. Now I can start pulling out more and out crossing a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm going to be myself in the corner. Everything's so tight. I've got a wrist of the breeze. I've got Yoshi. I've got Nico. I've got Scion. That's all G-Train, 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 G-Train. Everything I have is so solidly G-Train. I can tweak it a little now. That's when I hit up, hey Alex, let's do a breeding to Riot. Hey, let's do a breeding to Beast Boy, Beast Boy was a little exotic. He got a little exotic in him. Let's not get it twisted, But I figure, well, what I have now is tight enough that I can incorporate it, add those features without losing myself. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of people make a mistake. They say, I'm gonna breed this big dog, I'm gonna breed this big dog, I'm gonna breed this big dog. Well, now, we have a look, but now where are you going? Now you've got each litter looks totally different at the same time. I wanted to be more consistent because I found that where I was at currently in the very beginning, everything was so scatterbred, and I hated it. I hated breeding something and not knowing the results I was going to get because everything behind the pedigree was completely mismatched. And now my partners, the Strawbers, they saw what I did, and now they're kind of doing the same thing, picking up like multiple stud credits here, picking up multiple puppies from the same stud, and I'm like, you can't do it too much though, like. You have to space it out here or there. There's a thought process. So you need to skip a generation.
Yeah.
Once, twice, maybe 3 times a lady.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
like 2 in, 1 out.
Right. Correct. But that's why they always hit me up too to say, hey, should we do this or that? Like, no, you shouldn't. That's too close. That or that'll be great because that's the son versus that's the granddaughter. So it's a little you just got. I see people do it all the time. Like, I had one of my friends in the very beginning do this. I got a daughter off this man. I'm gonna breed her to her daddy, and then next later, well, I'm gonna breed her back to her the brother off of the other mom. And I'm just like, you're inbreeding on top of inbreeding on top of inbreeding. And then I saw the results from that. I would whelp these litters for these people, for these exotic breeders, for these heavy extreme breeders. And thankfully, I did a lot of whelping in the beginning because I saw the science happen behind this.
Yeah.
I saw the result of these genetic pools being put together. And I was just like, whoa. Why are these just jumping like flies? Like, I'm worried. They're like, oh, that's okay. It's normal. Oh. It's normal. They're supposed to die, man. So, but that's kind of one of the things that they expected, knowing that they were tying it so tightly together. But let's not get it twisted. The 1 or 2, sometimes they'd say no risk, no reward. Sometimes the reward was an intense reward, and sometimes the risk was, you lost the whole litter, but you get that one dog. I've seen some things happen, but that's why, like I said, I'm glad I whelped for them.
Right.
So I kind of learned it all, and I would see where things would go, and I was like, I like this, I like these look, I like this, yada yada yada, but I don't want this risk involved.
Yeah.
It was a huge learning experience for me without risking my own stuff because I would see what was going on, and watch how they would grow. That's why I've seen different bloods kind of grow, and how they would develop over time and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it was a lucky stroke for me.
Oh yeah.
It was very valuable education.
Absolutely. Hey, what were a lot of defects early that you would see where you're starting to get too close?
Majority of the time, they just come out with clefts, bro.
Okay.
Off top.
Yeah.
Off top. Clefts are going to be one of your main things that you see. And then the thing is, if you don't even see a cleft later on down the line, 2-3 weeks down the road, you got to think. If there's defects in the heart, pulmonary systems, they might be able to compensate for them as little tiny babies, but as they're getting bigger and bigger, like say there's like a hole here or a valve that's wrong there, as they're growing, that hole of that valve is going to grow with it.
Yeah.
And so these complications are only going to compound. So after 2 or 3 weeks, you'll see them start to fade out or die. I think that's why faders are kind of one of those things too, You say you don't know what the cause of fading is because you have no idea what's happening internally in that dog as it's developing.
Right.
You know?
Dang. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, because I've heard having like heart conditions where there's either like a hole or
I
I've heard
had
that more
that
women
happen to
live that.
one of my puppies had the same thing. Like about 4 or 5 weeks old. He was an incredible, beautiful dog. And as 4 or 5 weeks in, he started getting really bloated, started retaining a lot of fluid.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know, I said he's got a pulmonary issue or a heart issue. He's starting to get backed up, you know. So he's starting to retain a lot of this fluid, and that's exactly what it was. So she said there's a hole that was in his pleural wall
Mm.
that when he was a puppy, it was fine. He was able to kind of, because as he's expanding and contracting with the lungs, there's not that much space.
Yeah.
But as he's getting bigger, that hole is growing with him. And they were like, well, we could fix it. I'm like, well, why? It's just going to keep growing, right? It's a genetic defect. And so at that point in time, I had to call him. There's no value to his life.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
it's the humane thing to do at certain points because that's no way to live. That's no way to
No,
live.
not at all.
Especially considering as they're
I
growing.
mean, he was struggling just to breathe.
Yeah.
As it was. But that was just what one in a million dogs are at that point in time. I've never had that happen before. But it's just one of those things that those are the defects you might see as they get older. But when they're like 1-2 weeks old, it's much less pronounced, so they just fade away.
Yeah.
Dang.
And then you got the hydro pups and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about that. We just feel the head every day. Just feel that little hairline every day.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel a little line, start worrying. If you feel a little ridge, start worrying.
Man, it's enough that like if you know much about history in a general sense, you know how many dynasties have fallen because of inbreeding when it comes to human beings. So it's no surprise that
wrong
shit happens.
Turn. You're what? That means the wrong turn?
Oh my God. No, I wasn't even talking about that. I was talking about like history, like the Habsburg dynasty. I was like, oh my God, chin that long, drools because his tongue's swollen up and his bad heart.
I mean, I've done my fair share of it, but in any case, it's match dog to the dog. I've always liked inbred dogs, but I like inbred dogs because I know where I'm going with it. Like the female, that fawn female that I just posted the other day, Ava, she's off of Champion Wario. Wario is one of the very few 2-time Bowser dogs. He was Bowser bred to a Bowser daughter. And Devin's only ever done that maybe once, twice.
Yeah.
Matt, and in thousands of breedings that Bowser's ever done, because Emmy was that dog. And I'm the only one that was able to buy a dog off that litter. And he champed out so quickly. But look at what he was able to produce because of that. And that's why, but see, being that he was inbred, that's why I took him to the female I took him to. She was Grand Champion Beowulf to Champion Chantilly Lace. Well, Beowulf was off of Leonidas, and then Chantilly Lace was off of Grand Champion Wrath, Warlord's Wrath. So these are two completely scattered lines, right?
Yeah.
So, and the moms, I forget, a little bit of a different direction on the moms and stuff, and a little bit of G-Train in there as well, I believe. So I wanted to kind of hone that in together. So I wanted an inbred dog, and I've got a couple of like tightly bred males for that purpose, And Wario was that one.
Yeah. That's the thing. Just like you said, you got to do your research. You've got to know your blood. You've got to know, what can happen. If you breed too tightly, too often, too frequently, back to back.
We always take a gamble when we breed too.
Yeah.
What I tell people is like gambling. I mean, it's really a gamble. Breeding is Yahtzee. The best you can do is at least pull those numbers to your favor on those dice. That's all you can do. All you can do is stack the numbers in your favor. You can still roll the dice though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every breeding is I don't care how consistent you've been so far. It's you still there's going to be something recessive that's possibly going to pop out somewhere, and that's always that whole like, oh my goodness, is it going to be this litter or is it going to be the next one?
You know what? I found really interesting though. Like when I started in the very beginning, like I said, with all my scatterbred dogs, and I didn't really have like those dogs didn't have that many title dogs or anything in their pedigree. that's when I noticed, like, I'm just breeding dogs to breed dogs. You know, I'm just breeding dogs for, these are pretty dogs, but no pedigrees, no education behind them. I just know this is a nice dog and this is a nice dog. And then I would get random things out of the equation. That's when I was like, pedigrees really do matter. Let's try to line these up a little more linearly. And then that's when I started doing, like I said, Arista, G-Train, line bred, and I never got weird results. Like, I was always very consistent in my results with them, right? Health wise, structure wise. I never got too many wonky things, you know, might have nothing like no crazy overbites, no crazy underbites, no crazy feet, you know, no crazy rears, just because I was so tightly bred with G-Train. But when I started branching out and started doing these outcrosses to dogs that I'd never bred before, you know, certain big lines and stuff like that, that's when I was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting weird little things. Like, so with these flaws that we know run with certain bloodlines, right? Some bloodlines are a little longer in the back. Some bloodlines are a little more funky in the shoulders. You know, some have a little more bowed out in the elbows, yada, yada, yada. And that's when I started adding those in, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should have stuck back to my stuff.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like these random flaws I was pulling out, but that's when I was like, you know what? If my dog is tight enough, with enough of that solid foundation in the structure, I can take more of a gamble, and then hopefully I won't get so many of these little oddballs.
Right. You should.
That was my mentality, and that's why I kind of built my pedigrees the way that I have.
Oh, it seems to be working.
Yeah. How many champions?
I'd say, the dogs you bring always are.
I don't know. I think someone asked me that the last time, and I don't know.
What'd you ask?
How many champions I have?
How many champions? Grand champions?
I have 7 grands now.
7? Congratulations.
7 grands.
Yeah. Yep.
That is incredible.
I don't know how many actual champions I have. I forgot. I done lost count. And because that's something like how many I've produced versus how many I've shown. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a shitty problem to have, fam.
I know.
Sorry.
You gotta start writing that stuff down.
I did at one point. I had it in my old phone. I had it in my notepad, but you know how phones go. They just go.
And that's a good problem that it expanded so big. So many people believed in your program, and so many people believed in you as a handler that it's just like I can't even keep count anymore. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and it's great when I'm not even at a show and someone calls like, "Hey, we just champed out your dog." I'm like, cool. Someone asked me that too. They're like, "Do you think the handler matters? Do you think they pick you just because you're you?" And I'm like, you know what? That to me is a disrespectful question because you just like shit on all the work that I've ever done.
Yeah.
In a way, I said, but no, I said part of the reason why I want my productions with people is because they still win. That proves to you that it doesn't matter who's handling the dog. That proves that it matters what you bring in the ring and the work you put behind it. You know, it is a combination of the two. Don't get it twisted.
Sure, yeah.
You know, but what really matters is that you brought the nicest dog in the ring that they have to pick. That's what's going to boil down to. And people always said that, oh, like I even had one dude say that they picked you because it's you. And I really was very offended. And I was just like, you literally just, you just made it sound like everything that I've done means nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, well, no, I didn't mean it like that. I'm like, but that's what came out.
Yeah.
I said, you meant it like, oh, we'll always respect because they're picking you because you. I said, but no, to me, that means that you just discredited all the work that these dogs have put in and the work that I put into these dogs and the belief that we have in them. It has nothing to do with me. That's why, and then that's when I've been like, okay, well, y'all go to the show, take my dog. Sheila and Ryan have like 3 or 4 of my champions.
Yeah.
And Ryan is so low key, so quiet. A lot of people don't even know Ryan's in there. You know, that's because he doesn't care about that. He just wants to show the dog. Like he's just there to show the dog, and the dog wins. That's why he's there.
Yep. Well, fam, I've seen you in the ring multiple times.
Yep.
Deserved every ribbon, every trophy that you've got.
Thank
so
you,
respect, and I mean that. And fam, when I first met you, they're like, "That's fam." I was like, "Okay, like FAM, like fam, like that name fits you because you're just like this vibe that comes around you, and you're like, you're fam." So when I
Oh yeah.
when I saw your name on Facebook and it's like PHAM, I was like, so cool. That's
Yeah.
fam.
That's fair.
When I came up with my kennel name, I really had to think about it too, and I was just like, what do I call myself? You know, like how do people come up with a kennel name?
Yeah.
You know, and then like my
Yeah.
friends were coming up with that. I felt like we're kind of like generic stuff in a way, or you know, like just things that it's just a name. It might mean something to you, but it means nothing to me. You're just putting
Yeah.
bully kennel, you know, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, for me, being that what it meant to me, it was different. You know, the reason why I started was different. The reason why I show is different. I show it because it saved me, because I love it, because I found a
Yeah.
purpose, because it gives me a goal to go for that's something bigger than me. And I was like, that's why I joined the army.
Yeah.
And everyone calls me fam. And they'd be like, what up, fam? And I'm like, okay. I might be the bully fam.
Yeah. That's perfect. It
Because
fits.
it didn't even occur to me there, because I was just like, I didn't have a name. I was just Fam's Kennels and my fam. You know, I was just breeding dogs. I didn't have a kennel name. I didn't know people put kennel names. Like I said, I didn't even know what the word confirmation was. You know,
Marketing tactic. Dang.
and that's whenever then someone made the joke. They were just like, "Well, yeah, you fam, like you my fam," because it's all my army people started messing with me. When I came home from Iraq, I started doing the dogs and everything. Like, hey, fam, I want a dog. I want a bully from you. And then I sold like 3 or 4 of my army people bullies, and they're like, yeah, I got my bully from fam. That's my bully fam. Like, ding, right, bull. They've been calling me that for 10 years anyway.
Yes. Hey,
Now
would
for
you
your
ever
I said, but what's in the name? And then I had to really think about it. That's my name.
yeah.
That's my name. It means something to me. That's my family name. That's my mama's name. That's my mama right there. Hello, Con. Hi, Mom.
That's
Oh,
cool.
What I'm saying.
That's
And
cool.
I had to think about it. Like that represents me. That represents my family. That represents my time in the army. You know, that's what all my army people know me as, and then the ambulance too, because I was the medic.
The family.
So my name, yeah, that was the name of my truck. They called it the ambulance, and I'm like, y'all, we're at war. You're not supposed to let people know that my truck is the ambulance. It's kind of dangerous.
It's not the
Just mark a big red
ambulance,
cross
it's
on me,
the
why don't you?
ambulance. Yeah.
tattletales. Damn. Now
Oh.
on
But I had so many different plays on my name growing up and throughout the years. You know, people making fun of it, and it was always a joke, just like Nhi Linh Pham. So I was like, you know what? Everyone made fun of my name. I'm gonna make it something for me,
There you go.
and
I
that's
love it.
what I did.
Yes.
It's
And
cool to me. I like
I'm proud of it.
yes.
it.
I just was like, it's so simple, but it's so right.
Yeah.
You know what my name was, and I was like, but the fact is that to me, the fact that I'm putting my actual name on it, I better mean it. I
Yeah.
better do it some justice. You know, I
yeah.
can't fumble this because that's my name. You
Uh-huh.
know, that's my
Absolutely.
family. My mama gonna
Well,
whoop my ass.
Yes. And hey,
And she
if
talked
times
about
are
text me, be like, you cursed on the internet.
yes.
oh no.
Well, that is so cool that your mom is watching right now as you're literally saying the
She's my
reason for you.
she's my biggest fan. She's the only one who sends me stars. I love you, Mom.
I love it. I
Oh,
love
mom. She's also the first
You
one
know
to
your mama loves you when she sends you stars, right?
it.
What mama sends them stars? My mom does.
Not my mama.
Not my mom.
My mama never sent me
All right, Kayla's mama, come on. We you gonna come through one day. Hint, hint. Christmas is around the corner.
Yes. Oh man.
Right.
Yeah, my name is the Bully Fan, but PHAM. It's on everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your Instagram, yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram. Not on Facebook though. That's just me, Nhi Linh Pham.
Yeah, I was about to say it's just
I've
I've never seen
I've had that Facebook for 13 years. That's why I didn't shut down the other day. I almost died. I just lost half my life. I lost half of my life in one instant.
Oh, it's like, what
in
do we
that
do in this
moment,
situation?
when Facebook kind of went down,
I
I just
started
like my
snapping
first
everybody.
thought, my first thought was, oh no, not all my pictures. Like I was sitting
Everything.
there because literally I have pictures from other phones that I don't have anymore. They're all on Facebook. So I was like, oh no.
How
And
much
that's all I
was the
cared
Severe
about.
abandonment issues.
Yeah, I did.
Severe
Just in that
separation
moment.
anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my pictures, man. I was like, the rest of it was like, but those pictures, I was about to be devastated. But then it let me log back in again. I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh, then I realized how many people, because I was literally talking like 3 or 4 people in that moment, talking about breedings and showing and training. I'm like, I just lost my entire life.
Yeah,
How am I going to make money? How am I going to make money for the rest of my life?
That's it.
It was
It's like,
bad.
you
It
losing,
was so
man.
bad. Then it came back on, then everybody got my phone number. Hey, if you've ever paid me any money, here's my number.
yeah.
Here it is. Please take it. If you ever want to pay me some more, please take my number. Hi, y'all. 318-628-519. Take me. Yep. That was bad.
Yeah, it was, man, that was terrifying. Um, the one of the things that we always like to ask, and I know that you kind of touched on it right at the beginning, really. We always like to find out like about your mentors, because that's one thing that we kind of really push in our lives is mentorship and how important that is, and we use the examples that our guests provide of like mentors that they had and how critical that was that they had them. So do you have any mentors you want to shout out?
It's kind of crazy how like in the midst of it all, when it came to like the confirmation and all that stuff, like I learned that on my own. You know, I, I keep talking about Amanda Walker, and it's sad because we don't converse anymore. We had a bit of a falling out with the litter, but at the end of the day, she was one of my main go-tos in the beginning. I was the one who had Triton. She was the reason why I got really interested in it. We talked a lot about everything. Not to say that now looking back on the conversations, it's like, not everybody was always led in the right directions, I feel. And knowing what I know now, it's just like, it's one of those things like you kind of live and learn, and you really, you realize like who you grow with and who grows with you. And that's when I found you, and it's like, we've always kind of learned with each other, grew with each other in that prospect, in that respect. But for me, like, it was watching everyone else as I was going in the ring. Kira was huge to me because I watched her start showing Blue as a puppy. And the very first time I talked to her, it was when Blue, I think, was 9 or 10 months old. And then I see her become like literally the most sought after and, coveted handler of ABKC with Blue. And I watched that kind of rise with her and their relationship and how she worked with the dog and her handling was just beautiful to me. So
Yeah.
I was always like emulating, but I've never been the type to just like reach out and be like, "Hey, can you help me?" Like, because I've never been that.
No.
I was just watch. I would just watch and watch and watch and learn. And my very first show, I took Arista and I gave her to Stephanie. Stephanie would grab her instantly and was like, "Let me show this dog. She's pretty," And I was like, "Ooh, cool." I just knew Stephanie was an amazing handler, and I'd never been to an ABKC show. And I was like, I'm scared. But I watched her the whole time and I recorded everything she did. And that was where I based my entire learning of confirmation from. And she doesn't even know it because she didn't have to say anything. All she did was tell me that the dog was pretty, bring her back and say, "Whoever trained this dog did a great job." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like I might be onto something." you know? And she's like, and I was like, "Oh, that was me. I didn't even know what I was doing." She's like, and she even said straight up, she's like, "Well, you're really good at it. Whatever you did, it was a great job." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Thanks." Like that, she doesn't even know how those few words impacted me in that
Yeah.
moment.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Like it meant everything. So I was like, okay, I might be all right at this. And then I just started training like crazy. And then from there, I went. The next show was, like I said, my very second ABKC show. The first time I stepped into the ring, I champed out Arista.
Nice.
That's when I was just like, holy crap, maybe I am meant for this. It's just,
Yeah.
it was just one of those things. So from there, I started honing my craft, and I just started going to every show I could, start showing my dog, start showing all these different dogs, my own dogs though. That's the thing. Like that's why I say I didn't really go like to anyone and say, hey, help me show my dog or whatever. I just showed my own dogs and then learned from there. And as I was in the ring every time, then I became friends with Jew, and we'd be on the ring like watching each other, like
taking notes and
your rear is high, pull the head up, the ears, you know, the feet are doing this. So, and we're like, oh, the ass is in the air, go put it down.
Yes.
So we're literally like coaching each other on the side of the ring, like, and the judges would be like, stop coaching, like we weren't saying anything. So that's kind of like we literally would just always correct each other, you know. And it's just like a team, right? It's just like any sports team. You were out there, you mess up, hey boy, you did this, try doing this.
Yeah.
And that we would always correct each other in the process of doing it all. And that was, you know, a couple of years of doing that. That's why we went to every show together, you know. But that's why we became so close, because we could talk to each other and say, hey, you were doing this, hey, you were doing this, hey, try doing this.
Yeah. And
then we would see our friends who were doing the same things. Like, that's why we became so close to Caleb Bell. We would see these people with beautiful dogs. We're like, oh, this is a nice dog, but if you do this, it'll look better. And they're noticing, like, we don't care about who's winning. We care about the nicest dog winning.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that.
We just want to give each other the best shot. And so we always started gravitating to each other, and then we just would start just teaching each other, like, well, if this doesn't work for me, I try this. Or let's just switch dogs.
Yeah.
And then we just all learn from each other's styles, and that's a give and take.
Yeah.
But that's what a team is. That's why we have had such great camaraderie over the years, because we've always given and taken.
Yeah.
You know, from each other.
That's a partnership, man.
That's how you grow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because we're always looking to improve.
Well, and the neat thing about, especially with your situation in that regard, is that a lot of people, when they view mentorship, they think that we're talking about people that are, you know, older than you, and you know, they brought you into this game, you know. But at the same time, mentorship could be something as simple as a peer making you better by teaching you what they know. I mean, it's just teaching someone what you know.
I mean, that's how I've gotten better over these years. I wouldn't. I mean, you when you do what you do, you're stuck in the same way that you've always done it. But look at Manuel with Top Gun, right? When he first started showing him, and I was like, man, your XL is like, this is one of the nicest XLs I've ever seen.
Right.
But the way he was showing him, I was like, bro, do this, try this, open up more. And he'd be like, all right, next thing you know, he won 2 champion classes. He's like, thanks, man. I'm like, yeah, because that's exactly what you needed. And he'd be like, that's advice anyone giving me about this dog. And he was just like, and ever since then, he's just been like, you're the reason why I was able to, because you told me what I needed to hear in the ring. Well, that's the best place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're going to learn, because that's where you put forth all your effort. That's why I make these videos, so you can see. But then, like, now I'm to the point where I can see myself and go, oh, okay, I did this and this and this. I need to do this, you know. But in the very beginning, if you don't know what it is, how the hell are you going to see it?
Yeah.
You're just looking at something.
Right.
You have to have something pointed out, but you have to be open enough to hear it too.
Yeah.
Yes, you absolutely have to be open to getting new information and being willing to kind of step outside yourself and hear what other people have to give, you know.
Right. But then you have to filter out the same people that just like to.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's not just about finding mentors; it's about finding good mentors. Good mentors.
It's blind leading the blind.
Good mentors. It's very important. Very important. Jeez.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you just got to develop the eye for it, and like I said, from there, when you find like-minded people, you know, and you got to find where you belong. You really do. Mm. And with those people, if you can grow together, you will always succeed. You know, if those people have the same like-minded results in mind. We were always geared towards, like, this is confirmation, or he's too skinny, or he doesn't have enough type, or we need to do this, you know? Because if you're not in the ring, though, you're not seeing what it is you need to see. Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time. You can think you have a show dog, but have you gone to the show and seen what it is that you need to compete against? Right. You know, I can tell you your dog is this and this and that, but you're not really watching what's happening in the current day, in your current competition.
Right.
So you're not going to know what to bring. You're not going to know that this is good or bad or better or worse.
Gotta know your comp set. Just really gotta know it.
Yeah. And I say it's a fine line because people will, oh, well, then I can't beat that dog. Well, you're not technically trying to beat the dog. You're just trying to get the dog that best fits the standard in comparison to what's on the line.
Right.
It's a fine line, y'all.
Oh, I agree.
You're not beating the dog next to you. You're beating the standard.
Yes.
So you know, and people forget that too.
Yes, they do, or they ignore it
Yeah.
entirely. So what advice would you give somebody if they were like literally just getting into bullies like you were, you know, when you got back? What advice would you give to somebody if they asked you, bam, how do I get into bullies? What would you recommend as like my first step? What do I need to be looking for?
Find a dog you like. Find a style. Just like in the very beginning, we talked about there's 5 different classes. What class do you like? What class do you like the most? And do you want do you want a show confirmation dog or you want a show? What is the purpose? Once you know that style that you're going for, that particular look, find the breeder that fully believes in that style of dog. Find the breeder that's fully invested in it, and then invest in that breeder because they'll invest back in you. That's always the way to go. The biggest mistake that people make starting in this world is buying from the wrong people, buying the wrong dogs, and then giving up because they just threw away money. They bought from a scam. They bought a pipe dream, and they just threw it away.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They threw away that $2, $3, $4, $5, $6,000 on a promise. But there are breeders out there that have what it is you're looking for. I want a pocket extreme. I want a standard dog. I want a show quality dog, you know, of this variety. There are people who truly 100% believe in the breed and the dog itself. If you find those people that have that style you're looking for, they will always invest back in your dog that you bought from them, which means investing back in you. It really is one of those give and takes.
Yeah.
But if you just if you buy a dog from somebody that doesn't give a damn, then you're stuck. You know,
Yeah.
you ain't learning nothing. You're not getting no game back. You're not getting any advice, any help, especially as a show dog.
Yeah.
I've had so many people go, oh yeah, I tried to buy this dog. I thought it was a show dog, but is that person show? No. Does that person have any show dogs? No. But then how did you think you were going to buy a show dog from them? Oh, they told me it was show quality.
About that.
You know, well, they can tell you anything they want to tell you, but have they shown that this is their truly what they believe in?
Yeah.
You know, that people like that will come to you. That's why people come to me who, oh, I want to show. Cool. Awesome. Let's do it. You know, I believe in you. Let's get started. You know, because that's just one of those things. Like, I've had 3 or 4 people that got screwed over, bought dogs from scammers, liars, cheats, whatever. And then by the time they come to me, they realize, oh, she's willing to help back with a dog that I bought from her.
Right.
And whether or not, you know, the first dog you buy, you don't tell me, oh, I want a show quality. I just want a pet. I'm not just tell you pet. Well, I want a show quality dog. Well, this one ain't it, but I can get you one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you have to be forthcoming on what you want. You have to understand what it is you're buying first, you know? A lot of people just want to buy a bully. They don't realize what they're getting. You know how many people bought? Oh, I bought an XL and it turns out to be a pocket. You know, or I bought a pocket and it turns out to be an XL because they just bought a dog because someone just said, "Hey, I just wanted a dog," and they don't realize the scope of what we have in the bully world has so many different varieties.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And different qualities of people behind those varieties.
Yep. Got to iron it down. Man.
There's so many directions to go though, you know, like if you just want a pet, you just want a pet, cool. You want an extreme type dog, you don't care about the ring. Cool. I got people like that, you know. You want a show quality dog, I got plenty of people like that.
I can dig it. I haven't seen a lot of questions. You've been answering them. Like, funny enough, you've been answering a lot of those questions that people naturally ask anyways. So that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions that she hasn't already touched on in the comments at all?
Oh, it's about time for bed.
I know. That's
We've
why
been
I'm
on
like,
here for an hour and something.
we're like, are we good? But I don't know if we're gonna get Caleb back in here. I don't know
Yeah,
if
he
his
probably
connection.
don't.
Yeah, his connection probably got lost. But this guy's also telling me it's time to go.
Yeah, it's about time for bed. We have been jaw-jacking for over an hour. Time flies when you're having fun, though. I really appreciate y'all having me.
Oh yeah.
It's no pleasure's all ours. I mean, I was super excited that you were willing to come on with us, and I've been, watching you the whole time that I got started, kind of like watching you in the ring, watching your videos, and I was like, man, we have a few laughs here and there. You're always
Yeah, it was
super
like
fun to be around.
me getting the fight that day at the opening.
Woo! But
Good
yeah, so
time.
huh? Good
Good
time.
time.
But yeah, so thank you so very much. Obviously, one, for your service. Again, thank you for that.
Thanks, y'all.
But yeah, thank you for spending time with us, sitting down with us, going through the history of it, going through your journey. It's obviously nowhere near finished yet, so I love watching that unfold as well. So I will see you at the next show. Obviously, Caleb will too. I don't know, Bruce, when the next show you will be coming to. He's a super busy dude, so we never know.
Well,
But
I'll be at Hillary Show March 30th, y'all.
March 30th. All right. Well, thank you again. You guys
Thanks,
have a
y'all.
great night.
Thank you.
Night,
Appreciate you, fam.
night. Everybody be safe and have a good
All right.
one. See you at the next one.
All right.
Absolutely.
Later.
Thank you.